Hello and welcome to Tell Me in Wrestling, a podcast that uses ignorance and humour to fill the gaps between everyday life and professional wrestling. If you are new to the podcast, we are going to discuss a topic in conversation, and I am going to be told how it works in the world of wrestling. I'm your chronically ignorant and chronically ill host, Phil, and I'm here with my tag team, Sweet November Pain. Please let me introduce Carl.
Hello.
And Dan.
Yeah, right, mates.
Oh, another
the old one. Awful.
I'm testing new intros.
Yeah, nice. Two things there at that intro. That tag team name actually sounds like a tag team name. And also, right at the start of that, I did a little gesture to the camera, poke myself in the eye. So anyone watching on YouTube wants to roll that back, feel free.
The things we do for this podcast.
Yeah,
accidentally injuring ourselves.
I got my depth perception was all wrong because I was looking at the camera.
You were looking at the screen.
Yeah, looking at myself like a little egotistical maniac. How are we both, lads?
I've had a bit of a shocking week so far. We're recording this on a Wednesday.
Dan, how are you? I'm kidding. Go on.
Actually, do you know what, Carl? My mum came around yesterday. She was just helping us out doing some housework, and she said to me, "Is like on the podcast?" I went, "Yeah." She said, "When Carl says those things about you," and I went, "What are you talking about?" And she went, "Well,
what things?
Saying that you've got a fake illness and stuff." I was like, "Yeah," and she went,
"Does he mean it?" Yes, he does. He 100% means it.
And I was like, "Of course he's joking." He's like, "Do you really think I would be friends with? Do you really think I'd be friends with someone who was just like, yeah, I think your illness is fake?"
I said some people might say that. I never said that. I think
the Donald Trump argument. I'm not going to say it, but some people might say.
I've heard things, you know. No. I of course I don't think it's
it's predetermined. It's not fake.
Predetermined. Yeah.
Anyway, I normally do the edit. Carl did the last one because it was video, and I was going to give it a go this week. And holy shit, did I have a bad day on Monday? Carl, actually, we had a little chat, didn't we? And I was just sat in the dark in my sunglasses.
Yeah. And
I was really quite sorry.
Thinking about it now, talking to you, your illness seeped through the Wi-Fi
through the
and made
cables.
me ill, I think. Yeah. So it's very real and it's telepathic.
Imagine if that was my superpower.
Sending viruses through the internet.
Yeah. Like a little hacker.
You are like one of those 1990s internet films where it's just like the virus has gone through the internet. That's not how viruses work. I've got flu through your internets. But yeah.
So how are you feeling now anyway, mate?
Better? I'm feeling a lot better. I don't know what it is that triggered it. I don't really know how it stopped. I kind of don't really care how it stopped. But it was nice to be able to kind of be in that situation and go, I know this will eventually stop. But it wasn't nice to be. It wasn't nice to be back in that situation again because it kind of came out of nowhere, and I spent the whole day just having to constantly do shit to just try and calm everything down, and it just wasn't working. Yesterday felt a bit better, but I thought I can't push myself today because after I don't know how I'm going to react to the day before. But yeah, today feeling good. No sunnies on.
Just the normal glasses.
And you weren't well either, so
no, that
worried me more because you just don't ever get sick. Despite the fact
that walking illness anyways, aren't you? It's just like I've had all the illnesses. You can't.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really new when I say something's happened. It's just like yeah, of course it did. Right.
It's more news if you're all right, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, if I'm quite chipper and positive, then
something's wrong.
Yeah. What's up? Yeah.
Yeah. How are you doing, Dan?
Yeah, I'm good. Just found out that I'm going to have to postpone my driving test. Because I'm not ready.
Really?
Yeah, I did
for the past fucking 15 years.
I took I did a mock test with my instructor today, and 4 majors, just the 4, and 16 minors. But every
16.
Every single one of them was mirror signal.
Not your fault.
Yeah, not my fault. It's mirror signals on roundabouts. I think roundabouts are my kryptonite. Every time I'm approaching a roundabout, I'm just either, I don't know, I'm just making mistakes.
Well, watch out, future road users.
The punchline there was blind spot.
Yeah, pretty much. They are my blind spot. Yeah, it was all to do with signaling and not mirror signaling. Like as I'm approaching it, or as I'm taking off. As I'm
you have to almost you have to pull out a bit of wrestling panto in a way, don't you? You have to be really obvious, like I'm checking my mirrors.
Yeah. Hey, click, click, click. In we go.
Yeah, incredibly frustrating. And I think I entered a couple of roundabouts in the wrong lane, and I mean,
none of it, the right hand side of the road,
going the wrong side. Yeah, none of them was like. She never had to sort of verbally tell me I did something wrong. She said, because it's apparently now there's like varying degrees of majors, and these were just standard majors. And I'm like, how's that a thing? But
was it just sort of like the
major reporting for duty?
Exactly, standard major fault. So I failed my mock test, and so I was supposed to have my main test on the 7th. And so she said she waited until the very end of the lesson to sort of go, so how do you think all that went? And I said, well, obviously, she told me that I'd failed my mock. And I was like, well, halfway through the lesson, and then at the end of the lesson, it was like reflect. And I said, what do you want to, she said, well, what do you want to do about your test on the 7th? I said, well, it's booked in, and I've looked to when the next test available is, and it's March. And I thought, well, I may as well take it. Exactly.
So another year down the drain.
Pretty much 3 months. Yeah. So I was like, well, I may as well take it, and if I fail, I fail, because then I can just rebook it in March anyways. Rather than try and move it over, because I've kicked the can down the road so many times now. And I was like, look, I know what mistakes I'm making, and I can rectify them just by doing a lot more hours just in my car and driving. And she was like, right, well, you're not going to take, I recommend you're not going to take not to take the test. So you're not going to use my car. And I was like, oh, right. Okay. I'm like, shit. And I just thought, well, I can't use Heather's car because the car's not available. She's at work.
That must be bad if she's like, you're not having I've not got the insurance to cover it.
Well, it's not that. It's just obviously I think she just doesn't want me failing
her reputation.
Yeah. And I'm like, right, well, okay. And I just thought, and I said to her, I was like, is it that bad? And she was like, I said, what's the percentage of me failing? And she was like, probably like 60%. And I'm like, oh, right, well, that's not. Yeah.
Oh, mate. Wow.
I failed my driving test first time round.
Yeah, I think she just doesn't want a failure on her wreck. She's like 4 years younger than I am, so she's a young instructor, and I'm guessing she just doesn't want an instructor, or she just wants to milk me for more money.
I love it.
It's been taken for a mug.
All the way into March, she's going to be milking. She's like, I want my Christmas bonus.
If we're still
living crisis going on,
if we're still here in 5 years' time, and you're like, so. Apparently, I'm still quite not ready for my driving lesson.
She said 65% this time round. This time round, exactly. 65.
So I'm going to take it.
Go on.
Oh, no, go on. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say I passed my test the first time, but my theory test, it took me 5 goes to do it.
5 goes?
Really?
Yeah.
I was a bright, cocky little shit with my theory test. I was like, I don't really think I need to revise that much. I'm probably just going to read the book once and I'll pick everything up. And that was not the case. So like the night before I did like a load of like crammed as best I could, and then went along to the test. And I passed. I think I just passed. And I remember, on the bit where you've got to like click if there's a hazard or something ahead of you.
That's the bit that fucked me.
I was just clicking for everything.
I got 100% on that.
The my questions I flew through, the clicking, it was either too little or too much every time.
No, I smashed my theory. My worry is now, I think you only get it for 2 years. My theory expires in August next year.
How many theory tests have you done?
Just the one. I passed it the first time. But I passed it in August 2020. So, so I've got until Sorry, August 2021. Sorry. So I've got until next year. I think it's 2 years. So I think until August next year to basically pass my practical. I know that roundabouts are my kryptonite. I'm not 100% confident on roundabouts, but I don't think anybody is really, especially these spiral ones that.
What?
Well,
because they're all spiral ones.
Well, no, they're not all spiral roundabouts, are they? Like,
what are you talking about? What's a spiral roundabout?
Oh,
like
there we go. Then
circular one.
No, it's just it spirals you out onto the correct lane, so you sort of move into it, and then you've got to follow the left.
Oh, I see what you mean. So it's not like you just have it. So you've got like multiple lanes, and you've got to keep going.
Lanes, yeah,
so if you were going off like the third exit or something, you would go on the inside lane first, and then you'd move towards the outside lane, and then it kind of pushes you out as you're going round.
I've never heard. Yeah. I just would call that a roundabout.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah. Is it actually called a spiral roundabout?
That's what they're called, spiral roundabouts, because they're different to like obviously other roundabouts, aren't they? Like the ones that don't spiral you out into the correct.
I've never really thought of them.
If you've got multiple, you've got like four or five exits, and then you've got 4 or 5 like lanes to enter onto that road. But anyways,
do you know what will be different about you learning to drive than me and Carl is that you'll probably have a sat nav to help you.
No, that's the thing. She turns it off, and I'm like, so so the excuse that I've kind of got in my head as well is because I don't know the roads of where I'm driving very well. I'm not. It's kind of like every single road is new to me. No matter how many times I do it, it's because I don't I was quite comfortable when I was learning in London because I used to cycle those roads quite a lot, so I knew what lane was going where and wherever it was going. Whereas here, like no matter how many lessons I've taken, I still don't know where I'm going. Like in Sheffield and Rotherham area.
So in fairness, though, when I did my test, that was like 20 miles away from where I did my lessons, so I didn't know that area.
Yeah, but it's kind of like. Yeah, I wish because she said to me, she said we did sat nav driving, and she said sat nav driving, you're perfect, and I was like on the roundabouts as well, and she was like, yeah, and it's because I know what it is. It's because I can prepare myself already as to what lane I need to be in, like
been able to check, haven't you?
Well in advance. Whereas like I'll pull up and she'll go right at the next roundabout, take a right, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm coming up to the roundabout now. So I'm like, right, okay. So I haven't got as much time to. I've got to get myself over into the right hand lane. Then I've got to make sure that I'm in the right one for the third exit, etc., etc. And I'm just like, whereas that is maybe I've got 500 yards. Whereas I know that I'm going into a roundabout way in advance from
and I think one of the best things that this is such a boring conversation now when I'm talking about we'll finish it after. It's really helpful when it tells you like which lane you need to be in,
but I think what's helped me in some ways, like confidence in knowing what road signs are, and then I'm confident on the road, but what is hindering me in other ways is these little things that I need because I've got a full-time job to worry about and fret about. That's getting in the way, like from Monday to Friday, and then
you're grown up.
Yeah, and whereas I now I'm like, I wish I was 17 where I didn't have anything to worry about, like at all. Really, my job I didn't have to. I was chopping meat in a butchery.
Do you know what? You would have been worried about your hair when you were 17.
Yeah,
it falling out. But so that's me. So I'll give you a 3-month.
Fuck it out. Yeah,
except that it is a pain in the ass. I don't think the wife is happy.
What? Because she has to drive you around.
Drive me around for another 3.5 months.
Oh dear.
When you go like to supermarkets and stuff, does she sometimes have to put you in one of those like little seats at the front?
Little baby seat. Yeah. No, I drive to like some of the super like on these
one of those little red cars.
Yeah.
So
that's me.
It's like a wrestler learning to wrestle for 10 years and just never having a match, isn't it?
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah,
just constantly in training.
Well, I haven't. In my defense, I haven't been learning for 10 years. I've really only been learning for about 6 months now.
Well,
Even
That's
even six,
that's
even
not
not even
really
really,
true, is it? But
even not even really 6 months. Like
Off and
I
on.
haven't off and
Off
on,
and
off and
on.
on for like since 21 years old. So yeah, almost 14 years now. That's me.
That's you.
Still being a child at 30, almost 35 years old. I'll just pass 5 months before I turn 35, and I've been saying
Later
since
than never,
by
though.
my birthday, I'll pass. So
I'll have another 50 quid then. But yeah, if anyone wanted 10 minutes on 15 minutes probably on driving lessons at the start of this podcast, there you go. You've got your film.
You're welcome. You're welcome. That's not the subject for this week, is it? Though. So
No.
I was actually thinking halfway through that. I was like, should we just change it to that and just
driving?
Yeah.
Do we care how Carl is?
I answered, didn't I?
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? I'm fine. I'm all right. Whatever.
Who gives a shit? Go on then.
Exactly.
Hit us with a bit of poetry.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about the poem.
Oh yeah, poem. Fucking hell. Yeah. Oh, I'm knackered after that. I'll be honest with you. I'm have to regain my composure here. Well, I had a request for it, didn't I? Of I'm taking requests on poems now. That's how good I am. So I've written a little limerick, which was Phil. I think you requested a limerick.
Yeah. Do it in a limerick form. I want to test you.
So yeah. So if anyone wants to give me a little subject matter or type of poem, I'll have to learn what that type of poem is, but I'll fucking do it.
Go back to your GCSE English books and
I don't know anything about poems, but right, ready?
Yeah.
All right. There was a wrestler named Scott who enjoyed doing steroids quite a lot. Fractions and math, the rant of a psychopath, confused looks is all that he got. What do you reckon?
That was good. I like that.
Limerick, isn't it? Come on.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a reference
nice
to the Steiner Math promo that we've discussed before. So
I think it's come up.
I think that was on an episode we ended up not releasing.
Oh really?
I'm pretty sure we've brought up Steiner Math.
We've thought about Steiner Math, definitely.
Definitely, okay. numerous times. On the
I will take both your words on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, John Wiki.
I start on John Cena's Wikipedia page and then I fall down a wrestling rabbit hole. So I'm going to give some clues to someone or something from the world of wrestling, and these two giant wrestling nerds are going to try and guess the answer.
It's the only time on the podcast I ever write notes down.
It's 1-1 after 2 rounds. Neck and neck.
Oh.
Okay, you ready?
Here we go. Can we get it on?
Okay.
Probably not.
First clue. I played professional American football for the Cleveland Browns and Tampa Bay Bandits.
The Tampa Bay Bandits? That's like...
Never even heard of them. Are they a college?
I think they're a now defunct team.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay, so we may have gone... So you've given us a little bit of a...
Giving you a little bit of tiny extra clue there.
Nugget of extra help. Okay. So,
okay.
Do you want to say...
Hazard a guess?
Yeah, go for it, Don.
Rocky Johnson.
Carl?
Ron Simmons.
Well, one of you's got it right.
Really?
Really?
A hole in one.
Hole in one.
I don't know which one. Both of them, I think, are quite good answers.
Could be either of them.
And the point goes to Carl.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
That was a complete shot in the dark as well.
Yeah. I had loads of stuff down for him. He won a match when the referee made a fast count, and then in kayfabe the referee got fired. He worked as a warehouse manager for Coca-Cola in the mid-90s. I was reading up because obviously you said his other name, what was it? Farouk Assad.
Farouk. Yeah, when he was in the Nation of Domination.
So he wrestled under that name for a while, and then he changed back to his actual name in like the early 2000s because of Al Qaeda.
Oh yeah.
They apparently had
Yeah.
like a training facility called Al Farouk, and they were like, and even
I mean, he was on his
VKM was probably
yeah,
like,
he was
nah,
like,
we can't have that. He was the first Black World Champion as well. I didn't know which.
he was WCW. Yeah, he
No,
was.
yeah.
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 Little bit of a trailblazer.
Yeah, he's very. He's been around for years, hasn't he? And he was. Yeah, he's kind of a legend.
It always blows my mind how long you stay in wrestling for.
Oh yeah.
What else are you gonna do?
And it was just like, oh yes, we had a match in 2017 with Ric Flair, and I'm like, why? Why are they doing this to themselves? They're old men.
He was like part-time by then, though. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's, yeah, it's kind of, but they can't let it go. It's the thrill of the crowd and all of that stuff as well, isn't it? As well as
the class like 35 as being like in their prime, isn't it? Really, in the industry. Like, I think it's maybe getting a little bit younger now because they're getting a lot more hours under the belt, and I think they're a bit better trained and a lot less drugs and alcohol and shit going on in their early years.
I think with people now, you're gonna have more people that get in a clean living, earn a shitload of money, get out. Yeah. Whereas people used to blow their money, didn't they? I think the other side of it is down there. The people who we used to deem like old when we were younger, like, I don't know, think about like Hulk Hogan when he came back and fought The Rock, like wasn't that old in comparison to some of the people who are kicking about nowadays. Like, if you were to compare his age then versus like Edge now, they're probably not far off age-wise. Edge is probably older than Hogan was then.
Yeah.
Which
Hogan just looked...
he always looked old. But my point is that kind of, I don't know, in our heads then, they were like ancient. But actually the ancient people are now.
No,
You know what I mean? Holding the young'uns down, as they say.
Coming in for a payday.
Yeah. Anyway,
so
more of that game. Especially, you know what? I've got 2 Wordles in the first 2 this week, and then I've got John Wiki in 1.
Yeah,
so it's my week for puzzles, isn't it? Fucking hell.
So you're the first to get a hole in 1 as well on week 3. That's a good stall to set for yourself.
I like it how so far John Cena has been the most difficult one for you two to get.
Yeah, that is funny.
Out of the 3, and I was like, oh, this one.
It's true as we weren't.
And out of any possible subject matter answer, that was probably the bottom of both of our lists.
Yeah,
you fucked
that's
us.
True.
But
maybe I peaked too soon in the game. That'd be horrible. I hope not.
No, that one was definitely
it was a complete.
Farouk.
I'll be honest. Do you want to know my thought process with it?
Yeah, go on.
Dan picked his, and I was like, I think of another black guy. Ron Simmons is the first one that came to my head. Genuinely, that's what I thought. That's how my brain worked.
Well, you were right. So
exactly.
To be honest, I wouldn't have got the Tampa Bay Bandits. That extra nugget of help you gave us, which you say, no, it's a defunct team. So I'm thinking, all right, do you know what? Because otherwise, I'd have gone Cleveland Browns and then Tampa Bay Bandits. Are they maybe like there isn't really a second division?
The Bandits were in like was it the USFL? Was around for like a couple of years. Yeah.
Usually it's like they play in college, 2 games in the NFL, go into wrestling.
Yeah, exactly.
I was at my non-black guess would have been Bill Goldberg, because I know he played a little bit of the old NFL, I think.
Yeah.
Who can do his catchphrase the best out of the 2 of you? Bearing in mind that I have not heard it, so I don't know. I'll go off who I think is the best.
Damn! Should we find one?
The spikes are getting...
Sorry to anyone who listens to this on quite a loud volume setting, and we've just had those 2 yell into your ears.
Have you watched him do it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, should we find it?
Yeah,
I'll find a video on set.
It's more. I think I was a bit too high. It's like, damn.
Yeah,
damn.
There you go. There's a video there. Just put in.
We'll have to put that onto the VOD pod. This is just literally a compilation, a 7.5 minute compilation.
Yeah, but annoyingly, it doesn't start until He doesn't do one until like a minute in, from the look of it.
Yeah, he jumps. He's very loud.
I used to love him doing that, and then they just jumped the shark with it.
Yeah, he has typical WWE fashion. Speaking of WWE, should we get into this week's main event?
We shall, yeah.
Well, it looks like there's been enough talk. It's time for the main event.
What are we doing, Phil?
We're just going to take a look back at what's happened over the past month in the world of wrestling and sports entertainment.
Yes,
Because I wrestling this month.
I really enjoyed it when we did it as the sort of like last one to kick off. It was quite a nice. It sort of invites me into what's going on right now.
Yeah,
and I've got a little bit more understanding and a little bit more respect for it. So
it's a nice little palate cleanser for the other episodes as well.
It is, yeah.
So, should we
What's
jump
been
off?
going on? What's
Should
happened?
we go? What we'll do is we'll go through the promotions, or rather the top tier promotions in the United States, WWE, AEW, and then wrap up with a bit of ROW, rest of the world, which can contain a bit of NWA, bit of some stuff here in the UK.
It's already too structured, Phil. I hate it. It's too structured. I don't like it.
Structured fun. So we'll jump off with some WWE news. So Bret Hart still hates Goldberg.
Is that news?
I can't. Well, is it? I mean, so Bret Hart has released a book, or he's on the verge of releasing a book. It's Christmas. Wrestlers release books. That's what they do. And he talks in his book about repairing the damage of his relationship with Shawn Michaels. So, Carl, I don't know if do you want to expand briefly, give the cliff notes to Bret Hart's relationship with Shawn Michaels?
Yeah, sure. Basically, we'll go into it in more detail in another episode, no doubt. But there's a thing that happened called the Montreal Screwjob, where Bret Hart was essentially stripped of his title in a very unique fashion, and he was screwed over by Shawn Michaels in real life. And he resented him for years afterwards.
Oh, so that it wasn't a scripted thing?
No, it was involved him like leaving the company. It was his last match, and then didn't end well, let's say, and changed the face of wrestling forever.
Yeah, so there was an interesting tidbit that I sort of saw, which was he actually said that he approached Shawn Michaels like 3 weeks before this and was willing to drop the belt to him, and says, "Look, if you need me to do this, I'll do this for you." And apparently Shawn said
he wouldn't return the favor.
I wouldn't do it for you. So he was like, "Well, screw you then. I'm not going." And then basically he said, so he was contracted until the Monday with WWE. So he said, "I'm not going to drop the belt to Shawn Michaels in Montreal. He's Canadian, so he's like, I'm not going to drop the belt to Shawn Michaels. Everyone knew about their issues. There's lots of issues that they've had between each other.
Let's go into too much detail because it'll no doubt come up on a future episode, right?"
And he said, "I'll drop it to him on the Monday. I'll happily do that on Monday Night Raw somewhere else." And they conspired in the background to effectively cheat the results, and it all looks dodgy anyways. Whenever you see the referee and he's like 1, 2, 3, and it's like, oh well, in fact the referee didn't even count to 3, did he? The referee said that he tapped and just rang the bell. Anyways, that's not actually the headline of this. The headline is he basically said, "I've forgiven Shawn Michaels, everything's patched up, blah 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 blah."
Okay,
but Goldberg still hate that guy, and
the reason he hates Goldberg, Phil, to give you context, is so Bret Hart left WWE, went to WCW, and had a shit old time there. And one of the guys said, "You know Goldberg."
Yeah, we mentioned him. Yeah.
So he was kind of. It was also when WCW was at its peak of shitness, and basically they were in a match together, and Goldberg gave him like a thrust kick in the head, but like did it in a really unsafe manner and gave him a concussion. And he then, not long after, although he did keep wrestling, which probably isn't, but anyway, he had like multiple concussions from it, and he was never right again. He had a stroke, and he's basically just never been 100% since then.
That's
and
quite
so obviously
extreme.
It's a bit interesting this because he's always hated Goldberg since that moment. And he's kind of, over the years, has slagged him off a bit, but then also has said that he forgives him and that he kind of was put in an awkward position and, shit happens and blah, blah, blah. But then Goldberg came back to the WWE a few years back, earned a load of money, wrestled in a lot of matches, went to Saudi and did a lot of their shows, and obviously earned a pretty penny for it. And then since that's kind of happened, Bret's been back on the train of I hate Goldberg every time he has an interview, and every time he opens his mouth, it's like he somehow manages to wedge the fact that Goldberg is shit and ruined his career into it.
Right.
So there's a theory that maybe he was a little bit like, oh, we're both retired, we're kind of, let's let bygones be bygones. Then Goldberg had the opportunity to come back, an opportunity that he'll never really have to a proper decent level, earn a lot of money that he doesn't have the chance to earn. And he kind of resents him for that now. And it's kind of that resentment has kind of come back around is one of the theories, which I understand completely.
Yeah. Yeah, particularly if someone has caused you, like, a stroke's pretty fucking serious as well.
Yeah.
Very serious, yeah.
Yeah.
He's was not the same person afterwards for a long time. And he's kind of, he was quite, he's obviously written an autobiography since then and stuff like that, which is the best wrestling autobiography there is, I think. And it's not like his kind of, it was like more of his like motor functions, I think, and he just coordination and things like that, which is obviously quite important if you want to get in the old wrestling ring. So, and he had a bit of a poor showing against Vince McMahon at WrestleMania after all this as well, which it's kind of one of those things. He kind of he's very big on legacy and things like that, I think, isn't he, Dan? And
on the history that he left.
Yeah, and he left a great legacy, but also maybe tarnished it a little bit towards the end, whereas kind of Goldberg's managing to almost rewrite his legacy a little bit.
Yeah.
And make people forget that he wasn't really the most entertaining of wrestlers anyways. But it's funny, it's just, it's the 6 degrees of Goldberg for Bret Hart. But this one was like, as I say, I forgive Shawn Michaels for the screw job. Oh, by the way, if the screw job didn't happen, I wouldn't have gone to WCW, and then I wouldn't have got a stroke from Goldberg. That's like the sort of steps in his brain. He was like, how can I go from that to Goldberg?
Yeah.
So
I do find, I kind of half think that he's trolling a little bit as well.
Oh yeah, I think.
Humor, so I do quite enjoy it. And I think he kind of plays into that whole Bret's bitter type of theory about him. So
yeah,
I quite enjoy it. But I love Bret Hart, so
everyone loves Bret Hart.
I was actually going to ask earlier on who is the best like wrestling author, who's written the best wrestling book, and you've given me the answer.
I would say Bret Hart. Bret Hart for he basically, what he did was he kept a tape recorder and a diary, and he wrote or recorded himself talking about every single match he ever did. So he had really detailed kind of his experiences. So there was no like hearsay in it. It was almost like his words from the time.
Yeah.
And it's obviously he's got such a interesting story with his family being in wrestling and stuff like that, and him becoming like a real breakout star among them. And then obviously his kind of career ending as well. But what I would say is that's the best wrestling autobiography. But Mick Foley's first book is probably the best written autobiography, I would say, in terms of kind of keeping you engaged and the way it's written. He wrote it all by hand as well himself, which is very rare.
I think Chris Jericho's are quite good as well.
His is great as well. Yeah, his first one's really good.
Yeah, for keeping you engaged. Like, because you can read some of them and you just be like, this is just.
Do you know whose is terrible?
Go on.
The Rock's, because it's half in kayfabe and half in real life.
We have to read that. Is,
oh my god, it's awful.
No. It's not even Phil. Like, we will have to do an episode on that where we'll have to read it. We'll like tell me in Wrestling Book Club or something. The Rock's is genuinely it's a disgrace to literature. It is an absolute disgrace of a book. I got that for Christmas one year and I was like, what the hell? Like, even then at the time, I'm like, what the hell was I reading? But in many, many years later, I've read retrospective articles discussing the content of the book itself. Right. Honestly, we have to, because it's, it's written half not even half gay babe.
So I'm assuming that
Yeah,
it kind of
it's like
just doesn't.
there's like one
make
chapter
much
on
sense.
like kayfabe, as in like him talking in the Rock, the millions and millions, and then the next like bit is him talking like, oh, I was a young boy and I grew up and blah blah blah, and it's just like, what the fuck is going on as you're reading that? It's just bizarre.
But some of the stuff he says in there, which is like,
Yeah.
now in 2022, you're like, oh Jesus! But yeah, we will have to do a retrospective on the Rock's autobiography, because there's no fun reading read a good one. Yeah, go read the Bret Hart's, Chris Jericho's, Mick Foley's books. Those are really interesting, sort of even beyond the realms of the context of wrestling. Like they're really interesting. They're really interesting autobiography.
Good stories, aren't they? Yeah.
But, the Rock's it's terrible.
So honestly, if it would be like this thin, if it would just had all the kayfabe shit removed, it would just be like 5 pages of just grew up, wrestling family, bit of football.
Got depressed.
My dad called Vince McMahon, got a job. They hated me. They loved me. The end. I'm now
a Hollywood star. Basically, it's the plot to Young Rock, the TV
it's
series.
all based on that, isn't it?
Yeah, which is now basically the Rock's promotional tactic for being president in 2030 or whenever. Not the one that we're coming up to, the one afterwards, when the Rock can become president.
He wouldn't run more recently.
Come on.
I don't think he'd run. I think too much shit had come out about him from years ago.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Imagine all the Attitude Era stuff that he used to say.
I mean, yeah, I know, but you can sort of. I mean, look at what Donald Trump's done. Like all the.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be running as a Republican, would he?
Republican, he'd be Republican.
I thought that's what he said he would be running for.
He
definitely wouldn't get in if he was running as a Republican, surely.
I don't know. They'll love their ass, land.
They will choose all sorts of strange.
Yeah,
candidates.
That's
true. Yeah.
Do you know what NSL character he used to play when he was on the show? The Rock Obama.
Oh yeah.
Instead of Barack Obama.
Sorry, yeah.
When Obama was in office.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I don't know why I remember random shit like this.
Mad. Speaking of the Samoan dynasty,
here we go.
Sami Zayn.
All together, look at this as well.
Exactly. Sami Zayn is feeling oozy. So
we talked about this already, didn't we?
We've briefly touched on it, haven't we? So I saw a clip from last night's Raw, which was quite funny. It's basically now just a game for Sami Zayn to break the characters of the Usos on each segment that they're on. So he did a little, a really soppy little handshake that he's had this cool little handshake where it's like flip, 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 and then a shoulder barge, and it's kind of like, oh, it's developed over time, and you've had Jimmy or Jay, whichever one is the one that's not liking him. I can never remember.
Jimmy doesn't like him.
Jimmy doesn't like him. Yeah, and so they've been doing the sort of little flips, and basically on last night's Raw, he did a really sort of not last night's Raw, Monday night's Raw. He did a really soft one.
Right.
They had Jay sort of or Jimmy. Basically, there's twin brothers.
So he does. So with one of them, he'll do like a proper, really good handshake, and the other one's sort of just there.
He's like, I don't like you. I don't like you being. You're not part of the family. So they did a whole segment about 2 weeks ago where Sami Zayn was just like, and Roman Reigns is obviously the head of the table. He's the dominant figure within the Samoan family,
the
leader. And so basically, about 2 weeks ago, they did this whole segment in the ring, and Roman Reigns was like saying, right, you've got to get on board. Sammy's part of the group now. And he's like, I don't care what you say. And there was like this whole, what? And Sammy sort of
great moment, that.
Yeah. And Sammy bailed him out going, don't worry. We'll sort it out. He's just not feeling oozy right now. And basically everyone sort of breaks because oos is the Samoan word for brother.
Yeah.
But they've sort of spun that now. Usos, the brothers. And they've sort of spun this. The irony behind it, behind that phrase as well, is apparently Usi in Polynesian means pussy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like
So, well, no. So yeah, I'm guessing that's another reason why the sort of the breaking, because they've got 15,000 WWE fans in the stadium, in the arena, chanting "Usi, Usi, Usi," and obviously that's Polynesian for pussy, pussy, pussy. So I think there's another added layer to the humor behind that for those guys. But yeah, it is basically it's funny. I think it's kind of like fourth wall breaking without the. I'm worried that it's going to get a bit too WWE now, because they're posting it on their socials, and it's like when they find something funny, it's kind of like they sort of
run
hammer the shit out of it. Yeah.
Do you think this is all going to lead to, because this storyline's been going on for quite a while, Phil, now, with Sami Zayn kind of integrating himself with these with the what are they called? Bloodline.
The bloodline. Yeah, we've discussed Sami Zayn, haven't we? He's a Canadian Syrian, so obviously
But do you think this is going to lead to him going on like a Kofi or a Daniel Bryan run and take the title off Roman?
I don't know if he'll take the title. I don't know. This is the thing. They could maybe. It depends on if they're really good with the booking of it, because they've got. Is it this weekend, which is Survivor Series, and they're which is the War Games
podcast.
So let's say that he was going to have a fight against Roman Reigns. Would they be sort of earmarking that for the next like WrestleMania or something?
Depends
like
how you built it. So I think if you had Sami win the Rumble, like almost accidentally win the Rumble, and almost be a kind of apprehensive character around facing him, because whoever wins the Royal Rumble goes on to face the
sort of like, I'm not quite ready, I'm a bit surprised at myself.
Yeah, that like reluctant kind of contender almost.
Yeah.
I think that could be an amazing storyline to kind of go from Royal Rumble to, where you could have like Roman and the Usos like manipulating him and stuff like that, and saying,
you're not going to challenge. Yeah, you'll go challenge for the instead. US title or something. Yeah.
And then a moment where you could just imagine a moment where then he's been playing them all along. He comes to the realization, and then it's like, I am going to fight you at WrestleMania. I'm going to fucking beat you. And then imagine, and he does it. And then he goes on like from, let's say he did that. What's the one? Is it Extreme Rules between the two? Or I forget what's in between the two now.
Elimination. What, between Rumble and Mania? The Elimination Chamber.
Can't remember. But whichever one's in
really,
between,
because they're cutting down the number of
they're shifting them about, aren't they? But imagine if like that happened at the one. So there's like Royal Rumble, another one, WrestleMania. The one in between, that's when he kind of turns on Roman and kind of the crowd get behind him. And then that next month or so is like a build of like that kind of underdog baby face. Like, it'd be incredible. It'd be better than Daniel Bryan and better than Kofi, I think.
Yeah. Kofi Mania was kind of like, it was really good. Yeah, but then at times there's lightning in. They had the lightning in the bottle, but I think they got the lightning a bit too early, because they laboured over that point quite a lot, didn't they? They threw a lot of gauntlets at him, and I'm like, that's why I prefer Yeselmania, because I think they managed to catch that storyline.
Really?
Yeah, because I think they kind of laboured over the point a little bit too much by the time they got to WrestleMania. The number of gauntlets that he had to go through, and I'm like,
that's
right,
true.
Okay, but that was because I think at the time, again, I think there's probably better writers, or it's going to be better written.
Yeah,
this one there wasn't too many fingers.
The thing was annoying though, because it was like, oh, for fuck's sake, just do it. And it was even up to the actual event. It was like, are they actually going to do it, or are they just going to screw us over like they've been doing for the past 2 years?
Well, I kind of liked that, because you thought they were going to screw you over. Still,
but that's because But is it good though, if you can cause that much apathy, and then it basically leads to people being like, I hope they do it, but if they don't, it wouldn't surprise you. The crowd was. That was a clear build for Kofi. It was like, oh, they're going to do it. They might do it. They might do it. Every time you won a gauntlet, they're going to fucking do it. They're going to fucking do it. And then he did it at the event. It was so cool. Yeah. But I do know what you mean. Probably Daniel Bryan was probably the more critically acclaimed version, but maybe it's because we were there as well that I like the Kofi one better. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I think Sami could blow them both out of the water if they do it properly. I really do.
Oh yeah, this one could be if they. It's all about the timing.
Yeah,
it's all about the timing. But the worry is, I think the focusing on these social media moments, like even as I say, they threw Monday nights on there where they were breaking him, and I'm like, right, how long? But again, the reluctant or the accidental winner at the Rumble, because that's the thing. There's no more pay-per-views after this Survivor Series. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at Survivor Series, because I think that's going to be the first chink, because it's the Bloodline against. It's a kind of a bit of a not a mishmash, but the bruising, the bruisers or the brutes, isn't it?
I can't remember. No idea.
Yeah, and then you've got Kevin Owens, and I forgot the fifth participant is in that. But yeah, so there's that, which again, obviously the Bloodline are going to win that, but it'd be interesting to see how. I saw a really, really funny.
What are they though? Comment. Maybe something could happen there where it.
That could be
sparks the next month's worth of storylines. You know what I mean?
Jimmy sort of cost them, or Jay cost them. Somebody posted a really interesting, a really funny comment saying, I think they posted the Usos doing the Tower Samoa war dance back when they were really leaning heavily into their Samoan sort of, and they did
in their early career. You mean
early days? Yeah, the career.
Yeah.
And then somebody said, "Oh, do you know what would be really good is if they did that before War Games." It's like, it'd be even better if you've got Sami Zayn there in the corner doing it as well. That'd be hilarious.
That would be good. Yeah.
Do you know
that one works out.
Do you know who started all the Samoan stuff in wrestling? Like they're getting that group together. As I was reading his Wikipedia page, apparently it was Ron Simmons.
Was
really?
Yeah. Involved in, like the High Chief Peter Maivia.
Wait, hold on a second. Maybe I've misread this.
I think maybe have.
He's gone onto Rocky Johnson's Wikipedia page.
I was gonna say
no, I'm sure. Yeah, I know. Sorry,
Peter Maivia, the Rock's granddad, was kind of a big deal promoter and wrestler.
Yeah.
Oh well. See, I've tried to be clever and put some wrestling information in from my side, and I've just
what happens.
Right, arsehole.
This is what
happens. I haven't said anything for a while. I think people will want to hear from the host.
And this is what happens when you don't live in. This is what happens when you don't live and breathe wrestling 24/7. Speaking of 24/7. Segue, loving it.
What a link.
Yeah, so the 24/7 title in WWE has been trashed. Literally. Well, kind of trashed. She being the Nikki Cross, or Nikki Ash, or formerly known as Nikki Ash, almost a superhero. Great acronym. We won't go into that.
Too many names. Too many names already.
Yeah, it's what was it? Who was the one which he said the name? Oh, what was the name of that wrestler? He said he had 3 different names, but it was the same wrestling name.
It was Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan, also known as Bryan Danielson, also known as Bryan Danielson. So we won't go into Nikki Ash, almost a superhero. That was
so this is women's wrestling.
Female wrestler, yeah.
It was a title for anyone.
Title, yeah. So it was launched 2.5 years ago, maybe like during the COVID.
Longer than that.
Was it? Oh, it was. I was just about to say it wasn't during the COVID era, because everyone shat on it straight away. Even the crowd was like, "What the hell?" Because Mick Foley, very truncated history, because I know we've been on for ages. Mick Foley was famous for having a title called the Hardcore title. It was something that Vince McMahon in storyline gave to him to sort of keep him happy, and it was supposed to be a Joker title, and it was the heavyweight title, and they'd kind of like smashed it with a hammer plate and stuck it all together and wrote Hardcore title on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It was pretty cool though.
It was really, it looked really cool. Like for the Attitude Era, it was peak of its time. And the rules there were no rules, and it could have been defended at any time, anywhere, as long as you had a referee. Sorry,
it wasn't like that at first, was it?
Oh, no, the 24/7 rule was introduced later on at the time, but it was always defended in hardcore matches, because Mick Foley was a hardcore legend. So this was like with sticks and Sticks.
So
I mean,
you can
the
Sticks and stones, mate. Break my
sticks and
bones.
stones. Yeah, the first thing I reached for was sticks. Phil's the master of foreign objects.
Sticks, I think you
Yeah,
meant.
you can just bring
so-
anything in. Anything can be a
Yeah.
foreign object if you really want it to be.
But still, they once well, it was in a shitload of different places, but they once did it in like a hotel room, all sorts of.
I was going to say,
weird and
could
wacky
you,
places.
would you be sort of like going to sleep and like every tiny
Yeah,
little
so
noise,
exactly
you'd be
what
like,
they did,
"Ugh!"
Yeah, was
that's
it
what they used to do.
Crash
And
Holly
he'd
who
always-
introduced the
yeah.
24/7? Yeah.
Yeah, and he because he said he'd defend it at any point, but you had to bring a referee with you. So you'd be like asleep in the hotel room, and they'd like sneak in with the referee, like shh, and then the referee would go over, and the referee would be like 1, 2, 3, yeah.
It would be a lot easier to pin someone if they're already lying
Yeah.
down.
Exactly.
Yeah. That was a thing that it was always in these little backstage skits that sort of truncated the each episode of Raw and SmackDown and some of the pay-per-views as well. And it was always this fun gimmicky title that they had for numerous years, and then it was retired. And so then there was new rumors going around, they're going to introduce a new title, or they're going to reintroduce a title. And then it was Mick Foley's coming in to introduce a title. And all the crowd were like, "Oh wow, they're going to bring back the hardcore title, amazing!" And you always thought, "Well, how are they going to do this in the PG era?" It was like, because a lot of it was, sometimes it was defended in like, hardcore matches where there was a lot of bleeding, and it's like, well, you can't do that, and brawls and everything. And he brought out this ugly green title that just basically said 24/7 on the front of it, and it just looked ugly as hell. And it was never over with the crowd. I think there was maybe a 2 or 3 week period where it was an opportunity for everyone who was in catering who hadn't had a spot on the TV show to get out, and you kind of it became a fun thing for people on the internet to sort of look at and go, oh right, they're still there, or look how far they've fallen down the card, that they're part of the group of people that truncated each episode before went to a break, and you'd have like 15-20 wrestlers chasing after the person who held the 24/7 title. And they were all like running around, and the plan was, it was the same theory as the hardcore title, and you could defend it at any time, or you had to defend it at any time.
It sounds like you could put like the Benny Hill.
That's exactly. If you could, that's exactly. I'm surprised that maybe somebody at Batchamania or that Promo Joe haven't sort of edited a version where it has got the Benny Hill music, because that's exactly what used to happen. And they used to run around the ring and then hop over and then just disappear into the crowd and be like, and we'll be back after the break. And it was
there'd be like a corridor, someone opens a door and it's just like hello, and then they close it, and then they're down at the bottom opening. It's sort of like an episode of Scooby-Doo.
Pretty much.
What it was like.
I'm pretty sure they did do an episode of Scooby-Doo style where they chased after them. It's, as I say, it had some moments, but it never really worked.
Yeah.
And it had died a long death by the time that Nikki Cross
just became like our Truth title, didn't it? Pretty much.
Well, that's the thing. He was the one that sort of made it sort of funny, and he came out and did some funny little thing, and then he disappeared. But then when they took it off him and they gave it to, God, this shows how important it was. I forgot the wrestler who had it the last time. Female wrestler. She had a thing with.
Is it something that you would like put on your wrestling CV? Be like,
no.
So I once held the 24/7 belt.
Well, this is the thing. Like everyone,
it's better than fuck all.
The Gronk, didn't the Gronk?
Yeah,
he's an NFL star. He won it at one point. Referees have won it. Mae Young, I think.
Yeah, Mae. No, she was dead.
Is she long dead? Who
was the other? Can wrestling podcasters?
Oh no,
win it?
I think. Do you know what? I'm pretty sure
wrestling podcasters.
Exactly. I think some wrestling podcasters have actually won it. That's Sam something, who's now no longer with the company.
Imagine, right? Yeah. I've been playing the long game. I've been pretending to be chronically ill all this time.
Phil, you wouldn't even need to be pretending. You would probably still be able to win it.
Turn up in the ring and I'm just like, I've been actually faking it like Carl's been saying all along. What are you going to do? Give me that fucking belt.
It's predetermined.
Philomania running wild.
If anyone from the Department of Work and Pensions is listening, that is not the case, by the way.
That's not the case, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the thing as well. If you tipped up onto Monday Night Raw, like, well, he's fit enough to work. He took a payday for that, so you can't.
Yeah.
Well, you can actually legally work 16 hours, can't you? Before, not to get into the ins and outs of the Department of Work and Pensions.
Could do a few Iron Man matches, couldn't he?
Exactly, yeah. So you only need to hold it for 16 hours, and then you can relinquish it and go, there you go, my job is done. Literally, job.
Phil, they employed a guy with one leg, so you'll be fine, mate.
Exactly.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
They also employed the wrong one-legged wrestler. Apparently.
What? So there were two wrestlers with one leg. No, wait. Two wrestlers with two. There were two legs in total.
There's 2 legs in total. Yeah.
One of them belonged to one wrestler, and the other one belonged to the other.
Yeah, they hired the wrong one.
Okay,
but he turned out all right. He was pretty good. Sat going.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So then she trashed it. Well, as I say, she missed the bin. So that's again another. It kind of like summed up its history. She was supposed to sort of walk. She walks like looking cluelessly into the sky and sort of drops the belt, and it kind of bounced over the rim of the bin and was like, oh, do you know what? That sums up its history. But yeah, that's the problem when a title isn't elite.
Oh, elite. Is that a little segue again, Dan, into the return of the?
Yeah, a really, really, really pre-rehearsed practice.
Ham-fisted.
Ham-fisted. I have got the hammiest of fists. Moving the subject on.
Yeah.
He's driving this episode, isn't he?
He is.
Exactly.
He's mirror manoeuvred straight into the next bit.
I'm driving it as well as I would normally drive around a roundabout.
On a what was it? Spiral
roundabout.
Spiraling out of control.
Exactly.
Achieving similar results as well, may I ask?
Pretty much.
60%.
I kind of want to take the test now.
Leave all that shit in at the front now because we referenced it.
Yes.
Oh, for God's sake.
It's all right. Just do what I normally do and just cut all the wrestling stuff out.
Yeah, so the Elite came back after getting into fisticuffs with old CM Punk, didn't they?
And CM Punk's dog.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah. What do you think to their return?
It was good. It was a really good match. And it was fun, and I liked the presentation of it. So they came out to this Carry On.
That one.
Yeah.
Who's that by?
Kansas,
that's it. I was going to say Foreigner, but it's Kansas.
Yeah, so they had a really good match. So they to rewind 2.5 months at All Out. We won. They lost. They won. We're
just reversing into 2.5 months ago.
Exactly.
Don't worry.
3 points.
Going to flash on the spiral roundabout here. That's all right.
But I've got to take a few because my reverse Park Bay isn't spot on just yet. So I've got to take an adjustment. So
checking my mirrors, everyone.
We go to all Out, and they win the inaugural Trios title, which is the Elite are the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. So Trios title was, as the name suggests, 3 versus 3, and they won the final, won the titles, and then the whole CM Punk went ape shit, mad, crazy, whatever the hell. In the media scrum afterwards, there was fisticuffs allegedly fisticuffs in the back room, and everyone was suspended for several months. Well, 2.5 months is it? It's been almost.
Yeah, about 2.5.
And it's come out in the wash that a lot of things that has been said was like not true. And then about maybe 3 weeks ago, there'd been some vignettes of the Elite sort of returning. And yeah, they came back at Full Gear, which was the pay-per-view past weekend, to face Death Triangle, which is Penta El Zero Miedo, a good Spanish there, and Rey Fenix, his brother, and Pac, who's from Newcastle.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd mix.
It's an odd mix, but it's
were
like
you,
it
were you
works.
trying to do a
Geordie
Geordie
walk
accent
into
there?
a bar.
That was a terrible Geordie accent. Yeah.
Newcastle.
Newcastle. I will.
Newcastle.
What do you think of the name
Yeah,
Death Triangle?
It's one of those that immediately I was like, that sounds dreadful. And then I thought about it a little bit and I was like, it's not that bad. Which happens in wrestling, I've found. Like when we saw when we saw Rise, I thought Leonardo Darwin is like simultaneously the best and worst name I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like you wouldn't be friends with anyone called Leonardo Darwin, but it's a brilliant character name.
Death Triangle's a weird one because exactly the same. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it sounds like quite a kind of gritty, like kind of terrified name. But at the same time, it sounds like something a toddler would have come up with. Death Triangle. Do you know what I mean?
Someone in a band playing the Death Triangle, and sort of like you've got who's like the heaviest band you can think, like Metallica, they're doing massive.
Yeah, basically.
And then there's just someone at the back just ding ding.
You know what?
It is like legitimately like something that Slipknot would have had back in the day.
Yeah,
just hire a guy. Can you stick this mask on, which has got 60,000 pins coming out of it? What do you want me to do? Yeah. I want you to play the triangle, and they just sort of mosh the heads inside of it, and it just rings the triangle.
So yeah, they came back, didn't they? Good match,
really good match. Yeah, and there was a little sort of bit of storyline dropped in that Pac threw the hammer for the bell at Rey Fenix, and twice he dismissed it, and then the final time he used it to hit one of the Young Bucks.
He's been trying to get him to turn bad, hasn't he, over the last few into a bastard like him, and he finally achieved it. It's quite a good little storyline, I thought, a little nugget to the end.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting one because and it was interesting to hear the crowd's reaction to it as well. So they announced like almost, was it maybe a match afterwards, that they've now spun this out into a best of 7 series.
It's too much. I'm just putting it
a lot. I kind of like I bounce between my opinion on it. I'm like, oh, do you know that's gonna be pretty cool, but then I'm kind of like, how can you drag out this? Because it's basically Wednesday, Friday. Well, and then if needed, because obviously like basketball and stuff like that, like they have obviously they could basketball. Yeah. So I mean, I reckon they'll run the full gauntlet to 7, best of 7. But it's at least like I'm trying to think of the last great best of 7 series was Sheamus and Cesaro, wasn't it? And that was at least sort of broken out over a couple. Like they didn't wrestle each other every week, but they kind of. It's difficult. It's difficult to, again, because you're going to be watching. Yeah, as I say, when the Wednesday, Friday element of it for me is going to be interesting. So
the problem is that their matches, Phil, for your reference, are like so fast paced and so full on, and so they're like all the people in the matches in each team, they have amazing chemistry. So like they work really well together against each other. But fuck me, I cannot imagine watching that 7 times. Too much.
There's only so much you can kind of hold back, and
exactly. Like,
because otherwise,
do they then add like ladders, cages, and shit like that to kind of
you've got to keep topping it up every week. So do you start off at a low level, or do you go high and
well, this is it. They've already
introducing.
So that was match number 1. Is
pay-per-view level match, wasn't it? It's like it was fucking incredible, and it was long as well.
Yeah.
So maybe maybe a couple of them end in like really quick upsets or something like that, and maybe that will keep it fresh. But remains to be seen how they do it. But if it's 7 of those types of matches, you're going to exhaust people, in my opinion.
But I suppose the only way you can combat that is by having one team win like 4 out of 4, 4 out of 5, and have it over and done with. Because if you do that, then what is the point? I can understand in non-scripted sports having a best of 5 or best of 7 in like American sport, but when you're actually like, no, we're planning this and this is how it's going to go, you can't have it just end.
You've got to, unless, again, this is the thing. They've been off TV for 2.5 months. So maybe you think they've spent the best part of 2.5 months going, this is what we're going to do. This is our...
Yeah,
this is us kind of essentially sort of swinging their dicks going, do you know what? You've slated us so much because of what came out in the wash with the whole CM Punk thing was like, oh, who cares about the Young Bucks? They're just flippy dippy, blah, blahs. And it's like, they're not really that great. They don't tell great stories. It's like, actually, I beg to differ. They tell some of the best stories.
They do tell really good stories
in AEW over the last few years, like as part of their matches. So it's like, but they've had 2.5 months to plan this. And granted, Death Triangle have still been on TV, but they've returned that title. So it's kind of gone, right, well, we'll work on this. And then goes, here's the story. And then they've come back and goes, here's what the next 2 months of TV is going to look like for us. And we're going to end on New Year with bang, this. So this is why I think they're going to go for the full 7.
Yeah, I think they will go for the full 7 because it stretches out over up until the next pay-per-view, I think. But I'm not even saying that the matches will be bad. I don't think that's even true. I think they'll be great, and I think they'll do fantastic. My point, I think my worry is, let's say, that because it's so frequent and it's so samey, you can't keep topping what you've already done, which if anyone could, it'd be them. But B, you just exhaust people to the point
that's
of
what I mean.
Not caring anymore, which I think
I don't think they'll do 7. I don't think they'll do 7 of those types of matches. That's what I mean. That's what they spent the 2.5 months working on. How do we? What we're doing match 4? We're going to have this in match 4. I'm not
like a ladder match or something like that.
No, I just think they're going to have some quirk
like
of
shock. Of like
a shock, like maybe they'll lose the next 3 matches. Like they'll get injured in this next match, and then they've got we've got to be ready for Friday, and they'll come out still injured, and it's like bang, and then they'll come back from they suddenly find themselves by this Friday 3-0 down, and it's like, oh god, we've got then they've got a week to recover, and then next Wednesday is going to be like a really long slogging match where they just get over the line. And then something happens. I don't know. I think, yes, a 4-3 reversal of like maybe an injury to overcome, but I don't know. Yeah.
Like, it'll be interesting to see how your 2 predictions play out over the next coming few weeks and months.
We'll
I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure that if, like I said, if anyone can kind of pull it off, it'd be those 6 people because they do have great chemistry when they wrestle. It's just feels like a lot, and it feels like I feel like one of the issues of AEW on the whole, and we can skip over after this, but they're great at like they don't know when to kind of just leave it alone sometimes. And that they did at one point. They were really good at listening to fans and stuff like that, and kind of be like, all right, let's switch course and let's change course, and like switch to something else. But I feel like they're not that good at it at the moment, and you just get like some kind of laborious, fucking constant, ongoing, long-running storylines when you're like, all right, can we get to the end of this and move on to the next thing, please? Like if you look at the Acclaimed against Swerve and Our Glory, like that storyline just got shit towards the end because it's just been going on for so long. And it's like, all right, let them move on to something else now. And I think it'd be good that they can move on now. I think the Acclaimed are good because I think again there was an interesting a tweet that I read, which was they said the Acclaimed are the guys that come out and do a rap match. We've discussed this before with Kyle's little intro poem, and the problem that they've had is they said, oh, in the pay-per-view is their weakest one, and it's like, well, you've been rapping at the same. He's been having to come up with unique disses for the same 2 guys for the last 4 or 5 weeks now. Whereas the interesting thing about them when they were on Dark and Elevation and then coming on, they were in the chase for it.
Yeah, they were wrestling against different guys, so it was like a different type of sort of diss, and it was like they were insulting somebody new, and they had something new.
What they're going to say about this person? Or they're going to bring this?
There's only so many times.
How are they going to go?
I'm not even talking about that though being stale. I'm talking about the storyline and the fact that they had 3 matches, like a trilogy of matches, and by the end of it, the storyline just devolved into like shite. It was no good. It wasn't a good story.
Well, it was it was the
the Billy Gunn shit with getting kidnapped and so it's just crap. And that's my worry with this other one is, but my kind of what I mean is like they don't do that very well. Is what I mean.
They're not good at course correcting, are they? Not anymore.
And just kind of like, all right, let's leave that there and let's get them moved on to someone fresh because you have these great rivalries and that's good. But what the great thing is about rivalries is that they're not all in one block. They're stretched over years and months and whatever. Yeah. But if you have the same people fighting the same people all the time, it does become stale.
Like, and even the wrestlers must be like, we're doing this again.
Yeah,
all right,
fucking dildo again. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Can we move on to the next thing? Speaking of moving on to the next thing, we'll quickly talk about MJ. I'm killing it with these segues. Yeah. MJF won the title, and
a little regal turn.
He's sort of. He looked like he was going to turn face for the last couple of weeks. The crowd was even during the match, the crowd was humongously behind him. Granted, it was a hometown.
So against Moxley, it was insane how against him they were.
Yeah.
What does turning face mean?
So
you may have told me before. I may have asked him.
Becoming a good guy.
Okay. Oh, so face, right? So it's like the opposite heel,
like baby face. So if you turn heel.
Right.
Turn good.
Cool.
Yeah. So he was a bad guy. So MJF's the guy that basically just comes out and slags off everything and everyone in the crowd, in the place where he is. Even when he was back in his hometown, I think he used to be like, "They're one of the best things about being from New Jersey is getting out of New Jersey." Like just standard sort of things like that.
He sounds like Bill Burr, but in wrestling form.
When he was doing, what was it?
Philadelphia
hacky lines.
Yeah, they was basically kind of like that. Like imagine Bill Burr slagging off Philadelphia. That's what MJF's gimmick was. Well, I mean, there was other little things to it, and he was slagging off the wrestlers and stuff like that. But he was like, so he's been his whole thing was, I'm the devil, blah blah blah. But everyone still cheered him, and I don't know. Yes, the crowd were mega against Mox, but I don't know if it was kind of like one of those ones where it was just like, well, we know the title's getting changed now because Moxley was supposed to go on holiday 6 weeks, 2.5 months ago, but CM Punk fucked everything up, so he's had to win the title back and carry the company for the next 2.5 months. Now he's going to have his little holiday over Christmas.
That moment could have been against anyone at any time, and they would have still been 100% behind him like they were.
Yeah,
like he's phenomenal.
He's over like Grover, isn't he?
Yeah, they say.
So,
is he like the new rising star?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
His star is risen, and he's in the air, like shining like a sun right now.
Is he quite new? Because I've not really heard the name.
He's fucking 26 years old. He's been wrestling 7 years or something.
Oh, a mere slip of a lad in comparison to us.
Exactly.
Old fogies.
In comparison to the industry as a whole, really. Yeah.
He carries himself like he's been wrestling for 15 years. And he's actually like, he's a great talker, isn't he? And that's obviously his like strong point, and that's what gets you kind of over in a big way. Obviously, apart from the wrestling, but so a lot of the chat around him has been like, oh, he's a great talker, but like wrestler, not sure. But he's a fucking great wrestler as well.
Yeah.
Like people don't give him the credit he deserves in terms of the story he can tell in a match.
Yeah. I think one of the interesting things as well, which has helped this whole, like, I mean, it wasn't really a first time, but sort of getting the crowd over which is something which I personally think, bloody hell, you've kept this in your back pocket really well. All is his history. That's what's got him over with the crowd. His history with, like, he brought stuff out with the CM Punk thing where here's this photo of me. I'm a massive CM Punk fan, and do you know what you did that day? You dismissed me. And then there was one where, like, there's this, everyone knew that he applied, MJF, many, many years ago. He applied to be on Tough Enough, didn't he? And he filmed it. So there's this video which we can watch on YouTube.
But that all just shows he's a lifelong fan, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what's, it's like, as much as he can be an absolute arsehole, he's a fan. So the fans have gone, he's one of us. But then he goes, I'm better than you, though.
So. Yeah, his whole thing is, I'm better than you, but he is one of us. And that's what I think maybe, I think you're probably right there. There's a certain element of kind of one of our own made it in a way.
Yeah. And that's why the fans are sort of like turned on to him. And also because he's interested, he's brought this real life into his vignette, into his promos, and into the storyline. So the most recent one is he's been doing this thing with William Regal, who is the leader of the Blackpool Combat Club. So William Regal is an old British wrestler.
That sounds like a terrible, in comparison to Death Triangle.
Death Triangle.
It's an awful name.
I hated it at the start. I was like, oh, but then they've kind of like made it sound pretty cool. And it's basically William Regal's been around so long.
The BCC does sound like a porn subgenre.
It does sound, yeah. I'm pretty sure you type in BCC onto Pornhub and you're gonna get some nasty things. So yeah, the gimmick is William Regal. He came to AEW and he's got history with Daniel Bryan, Claudio Castagnoli, and John Moxley. Like he's basically been a trainer for these guys for many years, and he set up the Blackpool Combat Club. But he also, when MJF came into the fold as a challenger for the title, MJF was like, "I've got history with you as well," and it's like, I came to try out at WWE, and you said, "Oh, this guy, you keep going at it, and give me 2 weeks, and I'll get you a job." And I sent you videos, and I sent you videos, and I sent you videos, and you ignored them, and then you told me you're never going to make it in this industry. Stop sending me videos. Stop.
You read the email out verbatim, didn't you? That you got sent, which is quite interesting. Yeah.
And I was like, you could see the sort of tears in his eyes. It's like, to receive that from you, that killed me. And do you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong. And then William Regal's like, you know what I'm like though. I'm still right about you. You're still not going to make it. You've got to find that villainous side.
I did that to light a fire under you.
Sort of like the whole tough love's good for you. It all builds character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
stuff. That's his whole thing, isn't it? Regal, like tough.
Yeah, and he's like, I got dragged through the Blackpool mud in the sand and had to go wrestle with bloody 5 pence in my pocket, and I had to go stick that on the drop machines to pay for my dinner.
I was playing those stupid little claw games that never pulled a soft toy out. You have no idea the frustration I've suffered in my life.
Exactly. And so there was that whole storyline, and it's like, and if you got to find it, you got to find your inner villain, but you've got to do it right, but find your inner villain as well. And the match goes on, and then at the very end, so William Regal's famous for having these brass knuckles, and MJF is famous for having a diamond. It's not the Diamond Dallas ring, is it? It's the diamond. Oh, we discussed this in a previous episode. How much it was
worth. Diamond ring.
The dynamite diamond ring, which he's had for like a few years now. And basically, his whole gimmick was he's tucked away in his pants, puts on the dynamite diamond ring, knocks out the wrestler back, and he picks it out, puts it on his finger, and he's like, "No, I'm going to do this the right way." So he throws. Oh, because William Regal, don't you dare use that. Don't you dare.
He's saying like you always have to cheat to win. You never do it you never do it right.
Yeah, the honourable way.
Yeah, don't you bloody dare, lad. And then
I'm a villain. I'm a villain, but I'm an honourable villain. I'm the gentleman villain.
Does William Regal actually sound like he's from Lancashire? Does he?
He is.
Does he sound like Bumble?
He's from Blackpool.
He's from Blackpool. Yeah.
He's actually not from Blackpool, is he? But he's always been billed from Blackpool.
Yeah, he's from like Lancashire area, though. I think.
Yeah, I think it was like from Wigan or something. But I mean, isn't Davey Boy Smith from Wigan, isn't he? But he was billed from Manchester.
He's built from Manchester. I suppose.
Wigan and Manchester, the same thing. So match carries on like a few more minutes, and then William Regal kind of then throws him his after a bit of smushiness with the referees, throws him the brass knuckles, and you're like, oh, what the fuck?
So he turned on Moxley.
Yeah. And we're about to find out in the next 24 hours, not to date the podcast, but about why he did it.
So we'll see.
The real life story is because Moxley wants to go on Christmas holiday.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens with all that, I think. One more thing, just on the MJF kind of popularity and success. I think that, like, everyone nowadays, it's all a bit of a nudge and a wink, and everyone's kind of is a bit meta around, like, this is actual wrestlers. I mean, they don't take themselves too seriously. They have a laugh and a joke about it. And it's like, it's all kind of fake. Hey. And it's all like that mentality nowadays.
Yeah.
Because they're like younger and all that. They don't take themselves too seriously. The great thing about MJF is he's never out of the gimmick. So you can watch any interview with another wrestler. They'll be just talking normally and, chatting shit and whatever.
Yeah, I remember you saying this
Interview
about
with
him.
him, he is always in character, and it's fucking brilliant because
Yeah.
he does not give up. And that's similar to like what you would find kind of back in the day, years in the 90s, 80s. People live their gimmicks, and I think that's what we miss a little bit
Yeah, and
nowadays.
it's much
Now
and
people's gimmicks are like, I'm a meta
it
kind of
must be
joker
so much
person.
harder when you've got like everyone on the planet has their own recording device.
Yeah, and so he's just like
you've
it
so
all
you've
the
got to
time.
be
Yeah,
you've got to
like
be
where does the
so far on
character
it.
end and the person start?
Yeah,
It's very blurred with him, and that doesn't happen very often in wrestling nowadays. And I think that's why he's kind of really, connected with fans that kind of love him and hate him.
do you think that's going to cause him problems in later life? Not being able to disconnect from the character.
Well, that's the thing, though, isn't it? You don't know when he is and isn't connected to the character.
Yeah.
So I think
True.
that's why it's so interesting, because he might be just an arsehole all the time, or he
Well,
might
that's
be
it,
a
isn't it?
genuinely
Yeah.
really nice guy. We don't know.
This is the thing now, isn't it? He's kind of like his previous iterations has been like 100% asshole, but now he's sort of like sprinkling it with a bit of sort of this whole
Sincerity.
real life sincerity. Yeah. So it's kind of like, right, okay, so he can kind of get away with going out with his wife or his fiance for a dinner, and fans can be like, I saw him at a restaurant and he wasn't an asshole. It's like, yeah, I was having my dinner. I don't need to be an asshole 24/7, mate. I'm the AEW champion, so I've got to sort of hold myself with some dignity. So that'll be quite like an interesting quirk. But when he's out in the it's not even in the wild, is it? Within the wrestling fans at sort of wrestling cons and stuff like that, he is basically just 100% an asshole.
Yeah. I think if a wrestling fan went up to him at one of those dinners, there's a high chance that he'd be
probably
same as he always is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I like about him.
Yeah, so
just throwing plates across the restaurant.
Yeah, like he did an interview a few maybe a month or so ago now with Ariel Helwani. He's like quite a famous MMA reporter who likes wrestling and started to do a bit more wrestling kind of interviews and stuff. But he's like quite a serious interviewer and stuff like that, and MJF is just having none of it the whole time, and he just will not let him try to get under the bonnet, if you know what I mean. And I feel like he could hold his own with fucking any, interviewer, and just really just teach them a few things. Really, I think he's very, very good for his age.
It's going to be an interesting few months in AEW.
Sounds like it.
Final question for you, Dan, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah.
Do you think CM Punk comes back
to AEW?
Yeah.
No, not after the fuck CM Punk stuff.
I think he could.
It sounds like they're moving on without him.
It does, but is it not? If you pay him off for his contract, millions of dollars, and then leave all the money on the table that could be earned by having like him and FTR against the Elite after they win the trios titles back, or him against Kenny Omega if he doesn't want to face, like, how much money would those matches earn?
A lot, but it's like, I don't know if somebody said, I mean it might have been good old Daddy Dave saying somebody backstage at AEW said all the money in the world is not worth 1% of the hassle that CM Punk would cause backstage. Apparently he is so toxic.
But who could that be? Do you know what I mean? That could be any fucker.
Who said that? Yeah. I think AEW right now is missing a bit of WWE corporate bullshit backstage. Yeah, just to sort of like throw a lot of hot water. Well, he's got the politicking.
Could they can you imagine bringing anyone worse in than him to like?
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't
there a whole story? Yeah, I mean, we won't get too much into it. There was a whole story of like they didn't want Cody Rhodes paid him out of his own money to tip up against the Bucks because they didn't want him in AEW.
Apparently
Cody paid it out of his own cash, and now obviously several years later he's back. He's in there. He's got his feet well under the table.
Yeah.
Like,
he once wrestled as Jeff Jarrett. Phil. He's like an old school Like he's
Can't-
from a
he
wrestling
sold
family. This
he
is
sold
proper carny.
gold.
He sold like gold that was like fake gold, and but he
We'll
once
have to do Jeff Jarrett's episode.
he was the Intercontinental champion, and his contract expired the day before a pay-per-view, and they said, "Oh, we want you to drop the title to Chyna, who was a woman." And at the pay-per-view, he said, "No, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to wrestle." And they're like, "We need you to do it." And he's like, "No, I'm not going to do it." So he made them pay him 150 grand, I think it was, just to go out there, wrestle, lose the title, and then fucking leave the next day.
Damn right.
Proper carny, but smart with his money, I suppose.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Right. Are we all up to date in the wrestling world?
Yeah,
Pretty
why not?
much, yeah. I mean,
Cool.
there's stuff that's happening in the rest of the world is
The irony is that we're talking about the news of wrestling. It's already out of date by the time this
already out of date.
Anyway, I've got to get up early tomorrow morning, so we're gonna have to call this.
It's
Call this now. I've got a thrash recorder lesson.
You got a what?
Oh, what? Sorry.
A thrash recorder lesson. It was supposed to be a joke on Death Triangle, and it clearly didn't work.
I thought you were genuinely going to do something which is called thrash recorder.
Something you would do. So I was like,
Yeah.
it must be like a new cool thing I've not heard of.
You are
nonsense.
I wouldn't be surprised if you were walking down the high street and somebody put up, "I'm doing thrash recorder at the town hall." Oh, I'm down for that.
Bit of emo bugle.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, that's it from your favorite wrestling podcast.
We're the lad from Hull.
But for this week, we are all tapped out.